Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2474A, and today's date is May 10th, 2021, and the title of the episode is Central Bank Has Initiated the Inflationary Cover-Up Economic Playbook Known. Let's talk about protecting your wealth. So, you don't get the chance to buy sunken treasure every day, do you? Noble Gold has secured some of the original 20 Liberty coins found in the wreck carried up from the SS Central America on the seabed. The fabled ship of gold sank in 1857 along with 10 tons of California gold rush treasure. Imagine you can have a chunk of this exclusive time capsule from the depths yourself now. Call Noble Gold at 877-646-5347 to reserve your treasure. That's 877-646-5347 or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we know that the central bank, the corrupt politicians, the mainstream media fake news, they're in trouble. Trump robbed them of their cover story. He robbed them of the war they wanted. He robbed them of a pandemic that was going to last for years because they wanted to bring the global economic system down. Now, of course, they just couldn't bring it down. They needed a cover story. The cover story was going to be either a war or the pandemic. This way, they can point the finger saying this is why their system imploded. They don't have that now. They don't have a cover story where they can point the finger at. And now they're completely exposed to the world. The world can see all of this. But remember, they're not going to stop trying to cover up their economic disaster. They're going to use false flags. They're going to make it seem like these other things are causing the problems in the economy. They're going to make it seem like there's inflation because of shortages. They're going to make it seem like there's inflation because of cyber attacks on pipelines. Remember, the private Western Central Bank, they can't allow the people of the world to understand that their system only lasts for a certain period of time, and then they have to reset it. And in order to reset it, they need something to cover it up. They need a reason to tell everyone why there is scarcity, why there's a credit problem, why you can't get the supplies, why you have to tighten your belt, why you have to live in scarcity. But this time around, there's a problem. And this time, they're going to use other false flags to try to explain all of this away. We'll be talking about that in just a second. But because of their entire agenda, by using this pandemic to bring the economy down, a lot of countries around the world, they're hurting. But they're opening up again. But the economic disaster is there for everyone to see. And yes, they can use the pandemic to explain why the economy is not doing well. But as the economy opens up, the central bank still has the same exact problem. This is why Trump countered them in the very, very beginning, because he knew that he couldn't allow the economy to stay shut down because it would destroy the world economy. So he had to open it back up, open it up very, very quickly, and get people out there working, get people going back to school, children going back to school, getting people back in their daily routine. But there are other countries that said, you know something? We're going to stay locked down. And we can see that their economies, they're hurting. Look at the UK. The UK right now is facing the worst permanent damage than other rich nations due to their poor COVID response. So Britain's economy right now is on track to suffer more than $700 billion of lost output caused by COVID-19. See, the United States, Trump started to open the United States up. And because of that, it completely countered what the deep state, what the private Western Central Bank was trying to do. And since he countered that, they were still trying to use the pandemic. But he countered that part of the pandemic where they wanted to keep everything shut down with vaccines. Now, it doesn't matter if you take a vaccine or not take a vaccine. That's not the point of this. Remember, the deep state said the only way out of this is with a vaccine. Remember, you have the freedom of choice. You don't have to take it. But since it's out there, those people who are afraid, they're going to take it. The other people are saying that, it's a 99.9x curable rate. I don't need to take it. But again, it's up to the individual. But the whole point of it was he introduced it to counter everything that they were trying to do. And now what do they have left? They have false flags. They have tiny false flags that they're going to try to use to cover things up. Now, we can see that GOP governors, they are now slashing unemployment benefits. We mentioned this yesterday with DeSantis. Now, this is spreading to other governors in Arkansas, Montana, South Carolina, and other states where they're saying, okay, we're going back to the rules prior to the pandemic. You're going to have to show that you're trying to look for a job. And once you get the job, you leave unemployment. Or if you want to continue with unemployment, you have to show that you're looking for a job and you're going on interviews. This is another problem for the private one's central bank because they wanted everyone living on universal basic income, helicopter money. Because while the economy was falling apart, they could have the governments print and print and print. This was going to increase the debt. People were going to be happy because they were receiving money. And the economy would start to fall apart. But the people wouldn't care because they were receiving funds. But then they would see hyperinflation. And then this is where the Great Reset would come in. And when Trump left office, he handed this entire economy over to Biden. He kind of trapped him because what does Biden do with this economy? He doesn't know what to do with it. The central bankers, the puppet masters, they want to bring it down. They want the Great Reset. And this is what they're pushing for. Now, Mike Pompeo, he tweeted this out. The more this administration expands the government's control, the more of your hard-earned taxpayer money they'll take from you. Government funded equals taxpayer funded. And do you think Trump and the Patriots, do you think they wanted everyone to see this? Yes, everything that we're experiencing right now, especially with the economy, they wanted the people to experience this firsthand. They want people to understand what is happening here. You're going to experience higher taxes, higher capital gains taxes. You're going to experience what it feels like to be living in a central bank economy that is imploding. You're going to experience higher taxes because they have to pay for all this. You're going to experience higher interest rates. You're going to experience higher food prices. You're going to experience higher fuel prices. And this is what the central bank is using to cover up their inflation. What do I mean by that? Well, we're starting to see lumber prices, corn prices, fuel prices start to move up. Now, of course, this is all being blamed on Biden. Remember, he canceled the Keystone Pipeline. There's problems with Louisiana leases. Because what is this Great Reset? What is this climate change agenda? It's about resetting the system and going green. Can they have fossil fuels? No, they cannot. So what's going to happen? They need to create the illusion that fossil fuels are becoming too expensive. They also need to cover up certain things like inflation. Let's talk about protecting your wealth. So, you don't get the chance to buy sunken treasure every day, do you? Noble Gold has secured some of the original 20 Liberty coins found in the wreck carried up from the SS Central America on the seabed. The fabled ship of gold sank in 1857 along with 10 tons of California gold rush treasure. Imagine you can have a chunk of this exclusive time capsule from the depths yourself now. Call Noble Gold at 877-646-5347 to reserve your treasure. That's 877-646-5347 or click the link in the description. So fuel prices started to move up, And they started on their campaign of pushing the green agenda. Now, since fuel prices started to move up, other things started to move up in price, which means the value of the dollar is decreasing. But all of a sudden, at the same time, while all this is happening, we had a cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline that runs from Texas all the way up through the Northeast. This is about 45% of the gasoline that New Jersey, New York, and the rest use from Texas. So they shut the pipeline down. And they're saying this is because of the dark side criminal enterprise, which is linked to the Russian government. Not really surprised. And this is coming out of the Bias News. It says the U.S. Department of Transportation issues temporary hours of service exemption for drivers transporting gasoline and fuel in 17 states in response to the sustained shutdown of the Colonial Pipeline. What happens when you shut down a pipeline? Well, you can't get the fuel, which means fuel prices are going to go up. Now, we also come to find out that the largest U.S. refinery has shut their crude units in Port Arthur, Texas, due to the Colonial Pipeline outage. So, what is happening right now? Well, right now, this Colonial Pipeline, it transports nearly half of the fuel consumed on the East Coast. So they're blaming Russia. They're linking it to Russia because they have a couple of agendas associated with this. Remember when Biden said he was going to launch a cyber attack against Russia? They were going to place sanctions because they were involved in interfering with the elections. Well, here we have this group that is linked to Russia. Now, Biden said there is no evidence the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack came from Russia, but there is evidence the ransomware is in Russia. Now, let's think about that for a second. You know what's going to happen. They're going to come out and just blame Russia. That's agenda number one, because they always blame Russia, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to push a war. So Biden says he's going to cyber attack them. Russia retaliates, and they're going to say, well, Russia decided to hit the Colonial Pipeline. And this is going to make fuel costs higher. Now, what's the problem with the economy right now? The problem is we're seeing inflation. We have all this stimulus money. We have all this printing or pushing the button, and it's not going into the stock market. It's not going into banks. It's not going overseas. It's going into the people's pockets, into their accounts, and they're using it in the economy, which means there's more dollars in circulation. And we've already seen this since Trump has left office and Biden is in office. Because as soon as Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline and suspended the lease contracts in Louisiana, we saw fuel prices start to move up. Now, with this cyber attack on the pipeline, we're going to see fuel costs probably move up even higher. And that's going to affect a lot of things, because now it's going to cost a lot more money to transport items. We're going to see food costs move up. We're going to see a lot of other things. We might even see shortages because of this. And this will cover up inflation that is coming, because this is all they have left to do. What else does this do? It pushes their climate change agenda. As fuel costs move up, they've created a crisis. What does the crisis allow them to do? It allows them to present an alternative. Well, since fuel costs are $10 a gallon or $15 a gallon, we can't live like this. We need an alternative to this that's cheaper. It might not be as efficient, but we need something that's different so we can still travel along, because these prices, they're going to continue to move up. And they'll usher in the climate agenda. Remember, the central bank, they're never going to give up. The central bank will need to be destroyed. And the only way to destroy the central bank is to have gold move up dramatically, because that will call into question the fiat currency, or have the American people just move to another system. Now, what's very interesting is that since this happened, we're seeing top financial analysts, they're warning of immediate inflation. And soon they said we're going to have some very scary numbers. And the Wall Street Journal was out there and they're reporting that the prices on everything from processed meat to household cleaning supplies, appliances have started to surge as consumers are beginning to pay sharply higher prices for goods and services. Costs are rising at every step in the production of many goods. Prices for oil, crops, and other commodities have shot up this year. Trucking companies are paying scarce drivers more to take those materials to factories and construction sites. As a result, companies are charging more for food, consumer products, including foil wraps and disposable cups. Now, since the pipeline was hit, what do you think happens next? We're going to see things start to skyrocket, which means that gold, cryptocurrency, they're going to start to move up. Remember, this is all about moving the people into their new system. This is all about covering up their system, which is dying. And Trump, he robbed them of a war. He robbed them of the pandemic that was supposed to last 2, 3, 4 years, maybe even longer. And now all they have is these false flags to try to mask what's really happening. And the people can see what's happening now. See, this time it's a little different because they're not saying, oh, we're in this war, everything's destroyed, and we need to restart the system. Or we're in this pandemic that lasted 5, 10 years, and we need to rebuild. Now you're seeing it happen real time. You're seeing all the prices move up. And as you see crypto move up, why would you keep your funds, your wealth, in fiat, which is declining? Because if crypto, and as we see gold is starting to move up, they'll probably kick that down a little bit. But as we're seeing it move up, it's keeping up with what is going on here. Fiat is going to be worth absolutely nothing because when fuel is $20 a gallon, well, now you're going to need $20 to do this. But when gold and cryptocurrency keeps up with the devaluing of the dollar, because it's a hedge against it, people are going to start to really take notice. And I do believe this is just the beginning, and this is all part of the Patriots' plan. Yes, the deep state, the private Western Central Bank, they're using this to push their agendas, to cover up inflation, to move everyone into their climate agenda. But the Patriots, they can use this now to show people that the fiat system is dying. And if you would like to protect your wealth, what you need to do is move your funds, or maybe a portion of your funds, into some alternative currency. You can transition it into gold and silver. You can push a button and transition it into crypto. And as things become more and more expensive and crypto goes to 60,000 to 70,000 to 90,000 and gold goes from 2,000 to 5,000 to 7,000, well, you're protected against all of this. And as time goes on and more people do this, what happens to the fiat system? Well, people leave it. If people are leaving it and moving into another system and they're using that now, and now MasterCard, Visa, banks allow you to use it, you can purchase, you can receive your pay in it. Well, that means people don't need the fiat system anymore. And as it continually dies, more and more people are going to move their fiat into an alternative currency. So, yes, the Patriots are using this to their advantage, and the deep state, the private Western Central Bank, they're trying to use this to push everyone into this great reset and to cover up what is really happening. I do believe the Patriots are in complete control, and they're allowing the public to see the implosion of a private Western Central Bank system for the very first time. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.